The Leap is about giving you the ability to explore your potential so you can keep up with the fast-paced world we live in. Leap into the future with Flo's broadband packages. Turbo 10, $75. Turbo 20. Turbo 30. And introducing Turbo 100. Leap, let's evolve as people.
This is CC6 Newsnight Weekend Review for March 24th to 27th, 2014. It was the week in which government begins land acquisition in St. Andrew to be used as public cemetery. Confidential information missing from Coalition of the Rights of the Child as thieves steal computers from organization. Over $1,500,000 collected so far with lowered income tax threshold. And Sports National Cricket Stadium field to undergo major restoration work ahead of international matches in August. Stay with us to bring you details when we return.
Paint it, landscape it, accessorize it, renovate it, make it yours.
Your dream home is already built and waiting for you. Grenada Cooperative Bank's Independent Special offers attractive properties in prime locations. No legal fees, no loan fees, and special discounts on interest rates. And ask about our Property Hunters Day. Call or visit us today and make it yours.
Make it yours. Welcome home.
What is deforestation?
Deforestation is the cutting down of trees in a forest.
Correct. In what direction do destructive plate margins move? SAS.
Together.
Correct, they move towards each other. And now for our bonus question. Computation. What is the gradient of a line which is perpendicular to the line y equals half x minus 8? Annika and I?
-2.
Correct.
Large windows, large doors, small windows, small doors. At St. Lou Metal, the size doesn't matter. You order the size you want and we make it to your specifications. If you need our new heavy-duty casement windows or half-inch impact or laminated glass or any other doors and windows, no problem. What size? Any size. You get it at St. Lou Metal. And coming soon, PVC windows and hurricane shutters. St. Lou Metal, 19 Frequente Industrial Park, powered by Grenadian Innovation.
Thanks for joining us. I am Samantha Williams-Worm. Government is looking at available lands across the island that can be used as burial sites, following reports that existing public cemeteries are quickly growing out of space.
The issue of availability of government lands to be used as public cemeteries is one that has to be given priority at this time. Minister with responsibility for lands, Honorable Roland Bowler, on Tuesday, during an exclusive interview with CC6 Newsnight, says an in-depth look with the relevant stakeholders will have to take place soon to discuss the issue. Bowler says in a general sense, lands are scarce in the country.
We are actively looking for replacement lands. Most of our cemeteries are filled. But when we do, there's a bigger issue. How do you treat and deal with them? Would we continue to allow people to build these large tombs that they are doing presently? And that is not a matter that I must take on my own. I can tell you what my personal views are. But it would be something that the Cabinet has to discuss. It would be something that the Ministry of Health would have to have saying. Of course, the Lands Division in the Ministry of Agriculture, the Physical Planning Unit, the undertakers to a certain extent must be consulted.
Bowler says once a consensus has been reached by the relevant stakeholders and the Cabinet, then the next step will be to involve the wider community.
That we are a small island, 133 square miles, and we do not have the land space that will accommodate such styles of burials. So we are actively looking for replacement lands. We have not yet concluded on the best possible places where we can move to for new cemetery spots, but we are working towards that.
Some of the primary areas to be looked at was also highlighted by the Lands Minister.
St. George's, I know that the Director of Lands and his team in the Lands Division did make a reference to an area which doesn't stick in mind now for St. George's. In St. Andrews, the Gambra Cemetery is the main cemetery that we have there. And only 2 weeks ago, I was speaking to the caretaker of the cemetery, and his belief is that the lands adjacent, close to the cemetery, government may have to move to acquire part of that lands to sort of extend that rather than moving to a completely new location.
Government, he says, has begun land acquisition process in St. Andrew North East constituency, some of which will be used as a public cemetery.
Another portion will be used for a public cemetery, and to the eastern side of it, there may be a small portion, maybe an acre or two, that can be used for housing purposes. So, like I said, yes, some work is in progress, but it is difficult. The government, save and except the couple of estates, don't really have a lot of large blocks of land, you know, so you can get a good 3 or 4, probably 5 acres in any one area that can be used as a cemetery. So we have to really look critically as to how we deal with and what kind of policy we put in place for the movement forward with cemeteries.
The issue of land space to be used as public cemeteries is one that undertakers in particular have been clamoring for government to give some attention in recent years. Sherry Ann Noel, CC6 Newsnight.
2 computer systems containing confidential information are missing from the office of the Grenada National Coalition on the Rights of the Child in what appears to be an apparent burglary over the weekend.
The office of the Grenada National Coalition on the Rights of the Child on Lucas Street in St. George's was broken into over the weekend, and among the items stolen were the 2 office computers that contain confidential information. On Tuesday, chairperson of the GNCRC, Anne Greaves, spoke with CC6 Newsnight about the alleged robbery. She says the tampering of the lock was observed by a coordinator at GNCRC on her arrival to work on Monday morning.
We had a padlock, quite a industrial padlock on the it would have been the grill, the gate, and that has completely, well, it's gone missing. And apparently the lock was actually damaged. So they didn't prize the door frame, they actually prized the lock.
The theft of the computers, Mrs. Greaves says, is a tremendous setback for the organization that operates from a very small subvention from government.
They got entry. When the police came, we noticed that 2 of our computers were missing and other items. But the computers are actually vital because it actually contains quite a lot of, well, not only confidential information, but information that we had been preparing for our Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month, which actually starts on the 1st of April.
The GNCRC chair says it's a bit mind-boggling that the thief or thieves left other items there and chose to take away the computers.
It is actually strange also, there was other items which could have been stolen, electrical items, which was not taken. So we find it funny that why they actually target those two computers. Basically just to say we operate from a very small government subvention, and it took a long time for us to purchase this new computer. It was one of the computers was purchased over 1.5 years ago.
Anne Greaves says she hopes that some of the information will be in the Dropbox account. If not, all the important and confidential files collected through years of hard work and dedication have been lost. The GNCRC has been functioning from the Lucas Street office since 2007, with the sole objective of working to educate and protect children's rights. Sherry Ann Noel, CC6 Newsnight.
Fisheries officials are again hoping that fishermen will record yet another bumper year following the almost £6 million landed in 2013, valued at $38 million, as they look at the export market for fish.
Fish production for January and February this year has doubled compared to the same period in 2013. Senior Fisheries Officer Johnson St. Louis says fishermen caught just under £1 million for the first 2 months of 2014 compared to $500,000 for the same period last year. The value of their catch thus far is approximately $7 million. Mr. St. Louis says the increase in catch was also replicated in the export figures.
For the months of January and February this year, fishermen had landed just under 1 million pounds of fish, some 945,237 pounds, and valued at $7 million. And that is like double the production for the same period in 2013, where they landed some 500,000 pounds, 527,000. So far, export has been doing well as well. For 2014, up until February 12th, fish export went to 77,000 pounds and valued at $799,000. And compared with the full period, or just about the same thing that they did for the full 2 months of January and February in 2013.
April to July 2013 recorded one of the biggest catch of fish, and Mr. St. Louis is hoping that a similar thing will happen this year. He says for that period, some 1.1 million pounds of fish, mainly tuna, were captured by Petite Martinique, Waltham, Guave, and St. George's fishermen. The senior fisheries officer says the increase in catch for the first 2 months of 2014 was brought in by longline vessels.
I could tell you most of this catch came from the longliners from the Petite Martinique-based fishermen at the Carnage, and also those at Waltham in St. Max, of course Guave, Victoria, the fishermen from Grand Mall. They have been doing well. Grenville has been holding its end too. He started with a bang in early February with a good catch of dolphin, but since then he has slowed down a little. So Grenville is doing well too.
He says maintaining the quality of fish is key, as they have added French Martinique to their list of export markets.
We also export the fin fish like the snapper, the grouper, the grunt, the jacks to French Martinique. Remember, we have about 4 fish trading vessels which go to French Martinique. 2 vessels carrying about 4,000 kilograms, about 8,000 pounds of fish per week to French Martinique.
The senior fisheries officer says they are continuing to train the fishermen to ensure that they are adhering to the rules of maintaining a high-quality catch. Janelle Ruben, CC6 Newsnight.
When we return, Ministry of Health to begin bedside registration to ensure information on births are accurate.
You want your loved ones around to celebrate, especially those living far. And with Digicel Top-Up, Dad can help you bring life to the party and be part of the celebration. Ask him to send you Digicel Minutes. Receive free instant additional credit. And stay connected here and there. Ask your family abroad to send Digicel Minutes today.
You're free to flow, voice, broadband, and video from $170 low. That's less than $6 a day. You can't beat that price, the best value for what you pay. If you have video, continue the flow and get broadband installed for free, you know. Add voice and get a theme pack for free. You know what that means? You're free to flow. When someone calls, yeah, you'll know. Free caller ID and other things for show.
Double and triple up with freeness from Flow. Special conditions apply. Details are in the press. Check out Flow Grenada Facebook page or call 800-FLOW for more information.
Breeze removes stains in the first wash. The other detergents, not always. You have to wash it all again and use twice the amount. So, which one costs more? Do the math. Choose Breeze. Unbeatable stain removal.
Welcome back. One of the measures implemented by government in an effort to raise revenue for the country's severely depleted coffers has yielded hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. But one official notes that there may be outstanding payments since the income tax threshold was lowered.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Timothy Antwine, says the Inland Revenue Division has been able to meet their target of what has been expected for the first 2 months since the lowered income tax threshold took effect in January. The PS says over $1 million has been collected so far. However, he does not believe this reflects the actual amount of money that can be earned through this revenue collection method.
On average, we're collecting about around $1 million on income tax. Overall, about $1.5 million more so far. But of course, let us be clear, there is still significant work to be done by both departments. But in this instance, Inland Revenue, with respect to the collection of income taxes, we're not by any means deceived into believing that everybody who's supposed to pay is paying. We know that is not true, which is why this particular month there is a major awareness drive by the division.
He says going forward there will be joint monitoring of the program.
In the next few weeks, couple months, we will actually have a regular way of telling the public how much is collected, how the program is going. That is, in fact, having negotiated the program and so on, spent a lot of effort there. The focus now has to shift to implementation, including monitoring, joint monitoring and reporting.
Minister of Trade Honorable Oliver Joseph says more revenue is expected to come in the coming months as government steps up on its tax collection initiatives.
The property tax notices have just been set out, so you will see that coming in later in the month. But from the 1st of January, you had the increase in the income tax, then the property tax rate, which you have up to June to pay. So between now and June, as the notice is going on, people will come in to pay. And there are other measures that we need to take to Parliament, legislative agenda. Then we had the Citizenship by Investment program, which we are putting everything in place to ensure that that application can be approved, so that the monies that were projected in the budget to do the capital side of the work, that will start coming in.
Millions of dollars are also expected to be collected through the Citizenship by Investment program when it takes effect fully. According to the website grenadacbi.com, applicants to the program will be asked to invest up to US $1 million. Blossom Alexis Welsh, CC6 Newsnight.
The Ministry of Health will embark on a new initiative next month that officials believe will enable accurate accumulation of records of births at the nation's 3 hospitals.
The Registry of Births and Deaths, the Department of the Ministry of Health, will embark on a new initiative come April 1st, which they believe will see the complete and accurate registration of children's births. The initiative, which will be known as bedside registration, will see expectant mothers disclosing certain information once they have given birth at any of the 3 hospitals across the mainland and Carriacou. Anne-Marie Mason is a Deputy Registrar General at the department.
In 2010, a research was done that revealed over 10,000 births were registered without any names registered. If a child is born at a general hospital, the hospital registers the birth. But after dedication, christening, lifting up, however we want to say it, the parents are expected to go back to the district office and have the names of the child registered. Very often parents don't go back. So that's why we have so many births registered but no names registered.
Mason says over 60% of children under the age of 18 do not have their father's name registered on their birth certificate.
It is important that children have an identity and know who their parents are, both parents, not just their mother. We have situations where the mother's name is registered one way on her birth certificate, and let's say she is known by whatever in the community when she goes to give birth. That's the name that goes on the child's birth certificate. So you have one name on mommy's birth certificate and another on the child's birth certificate. We have spelling issues. A name like Jocelyn, for instance. They might have Jocelyn on mommy's birth certificate, Joslyn on the child's birth certificate. So these are the issues that we are addressing.
Expectant mothers need to ensure that they carry the following documents with them once they enter either of the 3 hospitals to give birth.
The birth certificate, the marriage certificate, if married, and the photo ID is the documents that expectant mothers need to go to the hospital with and go prepared to name the children. The child or children. Somebody from Registrar General's department will be at the hospital to take the documents, to complete the birth registration. For fathers of children who are born outside of wedlock and they would like to have their names inserted on the child's birth certificate, they need to be present with their birth certificate and a valid photo ID.
To facilitate the process, UNICEF has donated 11 computers, which the Deputy Registrar General says will be installed at the 3 hospitals and district offices.
The 3 hospitals will have a computer each, and the district offices will be computerized as well, so that the information can be inserted. That was another challenge that we face. Now, information gets to our office on a quarterly basis. So the hospital send it to the district office on a fortnightly basis, and the district office send it on to us on a quarterly basis, which is way too long. We need information much quicker than that. So with the new system, it will be networked, the information will be keyed in, and we'll be able to access it immediately.
Once expectant mothers get an understanding of the process, it will enable for accurate and complete registration of births. Sherry Ann Noel, CC6 Newsnight.
The OECS, with funding assistance from the United States Agency for International Development, has embarked on a campaign to rally the region to action on climate change. And this special feature provides you with information on how climate change can affect you and what you can do about it.
If you look at the health of people and how does climate change affect their health, it affects it in a number of ways. If you look at the issue of food security, climate change impacts food security in a number of ways. One, the price of imported food goes up. As we've seen that this year based on droughts throughout the world. In addition, our own local production is affected by climate change, both in terms of droughts and floods, which will affect agricultural produce. In addition to that, even if you look at the sea, our fishing products, they get impacted too, because with floods, with erosion of soil, silt and chemicals, and the water temperature, it impacts our reef, it impacts our fish stock. So food security is a big issue, and that impacts people's health, because if there's not enough food, if there's not enough quality food, malnutrition is the result. Then there's water security. Water, and we've seen it in St. Lucia, drought followed by flood. In both situations, your water quality drops. One, you may not have enough. People start to store water. The storage of water, depending on how they store it, produces mosquitoes. So there are lots of issues like that. Plus the very quality of the water coming out of the municipal or the government, the public supply. Last year, I think we were talking about the issues of drought and then the issues of flood with regards to our water supply. Water is critical. Water is also a vector. It carries a number of different diseases, bacteria and viruses. Diarrheal diseases, that's gastroenteritis, affects our people when the water quality drops. In particular, the most vulnerable are the very young, very old, and those who are immunocompromised. So that is another area where climate change is going to impact, or does impact already, on our health. Then if you look at infrastructure, you can see what a storm can do to displace people. In our own context, we saw a hurricane and what it did to our communities. People who are displaced and become homeless need to be put into shelters of some kind. That has significant health effects. We saw it in our Thomas situation. We've seen it in Haiti, for instance, probably the most striking example in the region as to what can happen when you displace people from their homes, what happens to them.
The Leap is about giving you the ability to explore your potential, so you can keep up with the fast-paced world we live in. Leap into the future with Flo's broadband packages. Turbo 10, $75. Turbo 20. Turbo 30. And introducing Turbo 100. Leap, let's evolve as people.
Live in Grenada. Aye, we have the spice, we have the flavor. I'm sorry that you're sorry, but sorry's not so good enough for me, baby. I'm sorry that you're sorry, but sorry can't dry my tears, lady. And each time we try, you come with your same story. Now you're sorry, but I'm sorry cause I can't accept a apology.
Live on Community Channel 6 every Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's Sound System Saturday.
Welcome back. International cricket returns to Grenada with 2 one-day matches between West Indies and Bangladesh, and local cricket officials say the field at the National Stadium will be ready for the games.
Secretary of the Grenada Cricket Association, Raphael Crony, says a lot of hard work will have to be done within 3 months to repair the field at the National Stadium for the hosting of 2 international cricket matches in August. The West Indies and Bangladesh are scheduled to face off against each other in 2 one-day international games on August 20th and the 22nd. With the Athletic Stadium under major reconstruction, the 2014 track and field season has been held at the cricket side of the facility over the last few months, with the field being designed for track and field events, the last of which is crowded for May. Mr. Crony says, however, they have ample time to get the field ready for the return of international cricket.
Certainly, and a lot of work will have to be done to bring it up to standard. Certainly, and I do believe that we certainly will get the ground in perfect condition when the time comes around. It's something that has been proven before in terms of the quality of a ground for international games. And despite the weather now, I am confident that we're certainly going to have the ground up to standard for those 2 one-day games. Certainly the wicket, we doesn't have an issue there, because really I think we have been doing some tremendous work in terms of a wicket preparation. So I don't think we have an issue there. I think the issue which would be of concern is to get the field ready in terms of the greenness, in terms of the field being covered with grass. And I would say 3 months is quite enough, quite more than enough time for us to get it ready. So I'm not too concerned in terms of us getting the facility up to standard.
He says not much damage has been done to the field, but the colour and grass coverage need to be restored.
It's a sort of field that really takes a lot. It's takes a lot of finance to have the field up to standard. And therefore, you know, you'll want to do a lot of fertilization. You'll want to make sure that you have the greenness come back on the grass. So he talks about even putting down, you know, things that going to really get the field green. But as I say, I'm very confident that we have done it before, and you know, we certainly will do it again.
The last international ODI match to be played in Grenada was June 2008 between the West Indies and Australia, and the local cricket association is hopeful that the double-header, carded for August 20th and 22nd, will set the field for more games to be played in the Spice Isle. West Indies and Bangladesh will play the 3rd ODI and lone T20 of the tour in St. Kitts on August 25th and 27th, respectively, and the 2 tests will be held in St. Vincent and St. Lucia from September 5th and the 13th, respectively.
Day 1 in the Carriacou Inter-Island Games was keenly contested, but Day 2 was equally challenging for all the athletes competing in the various events. After 15 records were broken in the field events on Day 1, Sports on 6 hit the ground running and captured all the action on the track on Day 2. With me now is Mr. Anderson Matheson, Director of the Carriacou Inter-Island Games. Mr. Matheson, give us some details as to how hard was it for you to get things ready for today?
Well, it wasn't very difficult, but it was still a process because we've been doing this is our 5th year of having these games and the 4th year with Union Island. So we have certain programs that are in place to make sure that but we still have to do a lot of things to make sure that the ground is ready to host the game, because some of the facilities we need is not available here, so we have to put things in place to make sure. So it was a challenge to get the things in place, but it's something that we've been doing for the last few years, so we are kind of have a blueprint of what we need to do, how to do it, to get it off.
He also addressed some of the changes in events in this year's meet.
It's not difficult because 2 years ago, this committee approached schools to bring in the prep, because we saw a lot of the children coming out of primary school were finding it difficult to find a place in a games like this. They were good athletes in primary school. When they come here at 12 years, they have to compete against a 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, it'll be kind of difficult. So we have kind of seen that introduction needed for the sports. So in our minds, it was already there, so it was easy to transition into the prep category.
Mr. Mattison says the athletes should be ready for the 2014 Intercall Games ahead.
I think the schools are actually would look at this event as a kind of a test to see the times the athletes are running, because we're going to a call, you want to go with your best time. So look at them, and some of the athletes, I think some of them have lost a race because of technique, the strategy used in the race. So you have to look at that and work on the strategy going into the race, like especially the 4 and the 1500 meters, 800. Strategy is always important in the middle and longer distance races. The sprints, you get a better start, you get left. So. But the 4 and the 8 and the 15, the middle and longer distance in this strategy. So I think they will look at the strategies and see where we need to improve going into Intercall.
Sports on 6 spoke with some of the outstanding athletes: Cleon Simon, Michael Joseph, Kelisha Samerson, and Antonia McIntosh after their races.
It wasn't difficult at all because I worked hard, so it was easy. Be going back down there to do my event, go down there hard, go to win goals. I also do my best. I also force it. I had a problem with my hamstring, but I also force it. But this time I'll give it everything. I'm hoping to beat him this year.
My preparation for sports, I didn't train that much for this year's Intersec, but I came out and did my best. And relay is one of the most fun events in sports. So my plans are to train harder, and I have to train a little harder on my starts because I have a very slow start, and I'm working forward to get a good start.
Started off with little injuries and stuff like that, but then I decided that I will not give up. So I trained hard for the past few weeks, and I get back, and I'm coming, Grenada. I plan to work a little harder, and I trust in God.
Here are some highlights of the sprint events. Well, the stakes were definitely high at the 2014 Carriacou Inter-Island Games. It was left up to the school who wanted it most, and that school was defending champions Hillsborough Secondary, who once again walked away with the title. They were followed closely by Bishop's College and Union Island Secondary, who brought up the rear. All this action and excitement was brought to you by Dee's Sports Shop on mainland Grenada. From the Lauriston Mini Stadium on the sister isle of Carriacou, Janelle Andrews, Sports on 6.
That's all we have for you in Sports on 6. A recap of the headlines is next. Recapping the headlines. It was a week in which government begins land acquisition in St. Andrew to be used as public cemetery. Confidential information missing from Coalition of the Rights of the Child as thieves steal computers from organization. Over $1,500,000 collected so far with a lowered income tax threshold. And Sports National Cricket field to undergo major restoration work ahead of international matches in August. That brings us to the end of CC6 Newsnight Weekend Review for March 25th to 29th, 2014. Top stories from CC6 Newsnight can also be seen on our Facebook page, Flow Community Channel 6. On behalf of the news team, I'm Samantha Williams-Worm, thanking you for joining us.